All right, today we're going to open up a digital toolkit that's probably already sitting on your computer. You might just see it as some boring spreadsheet program, but we're talking about Excel. And I promise by the end of this, you're going to see it as a secret weapon for pretty much any project you can dream up.
I mean, just think about it for a second. That big science project where you have to average like a dozen different measurements. Or maybe you're just trying to keep track of stats for your fantasy league or your game scores with friends. Punching all those numbers into a calculator one by one, it's slow, it's boring, and it is so easy to make a mistake. What if there was a way better way to do all that?
Well, that better way is exactly what we're going to dive into. We're not just going to talk about a solution, we're going to build one together, piece by piece. So let's get started and assemble your very own digital toolkit. So when you get right down to it, what is Excel? Forget any reputation it has for being complicated. At its heart, Excel is just a super smart, incredibly fast calculator that also happens to be amazing at keeping things organized. It's built to handle all that tedious data stuff so you can focus on the important parts. Okay, first things first, let's get the lay of the land. When you save an Excel file, that whole thing is called a workbook. Think of it like your entire project folder. Now, inside that workbook, you have these tabs at the bottom called worksheets, and that's your digital workbench, the actual space where all the magic happens. So let's get a little more familiar with that workbench. The very first thing you see is this giant grid, right? It might look a little intense at first, but it's actually a really simple and brilliant system for keeping every single piece of information perfectly organized. And this whole grid is built from just a few simple parts. You've got your columns, which go up and down and are labeled with letters. Then you have rows, which go side to side and are labeled with numbers. Where a column and a row cross, you get a little box called a cell. And see that one cell with the thick green border around it? That's your active cell, which is just a fancy way of saying it's the one you've currently selected. Now, listen up, because this part is super important. Every single cell on that grid has its own unique name, kind of like coordinates on a map. We call it a cell address or a cell reference. It's simply the column letter followed by the row number. So the cell in the very top left corner is A1. The one next to it is B1. Simple, right? This address system is the absolute key to unlocking Excel's true power. And hey, as you start putting your info into these cells, here's a neat little trick Excel does all on its own. If you type in text like a name or a subject, notice how it scoots over to the left side of the cell? But when you type in a number, it automatically lines up on the right. This is a super quick way to visually check that Excel is understanding the kind of data you're giving it. All right, so our workspace is organized. Now it's time to pull out the first and honestly, the most powerful tool in our kit, the calculator. This is where Excel stops being a simple grid and starts being a powerhouse. But to turn it on, you gotta know the magic word. Every calculation, every command, every awesome thing you will ever make Excel do, it all starts with one single, incredibly important symbol. Without it, you're just typing words. But with it, you're telling Excel, hey, get ready to do some math. And there it is, the equals sign. Seriously, that's it. This is the trigger. As soon as you type an equal sign at the start of a cell, Excel completely changes how it thinks. It stops being a word processor and becomes that super calculator we were talking about. This little symbol is your key. So, now that we have the key, let's see what kind of doors it can unlock. Yeah, you can start with basic math for sure, but the real fun begins when you start building dynamic solutions that do all the work for you. Let's look at how we can really level up your calculation game. There are basically 3 ways to do math in Excel. The first is typing numbers directly, which, yeah, it works, but it's not very smart. The smarter way is using those cell references we just talked about. And then the pro-level move is using something called functions, Excel's built-in shortcuts for math. Okay, this right here is where our toolkit gets really powerful. For me, this was the big aha moment. Using a cell's address in your formula, telling Excel to use the number inside cell A1 instead of just typing the number 10 is the smartest way to work, by far. So instead of typing equals 10 plus 5, you type equals A1 plus A2. So why does that matter so much? Because this is where the magic kicks in. When you use cell references, you can go back and change the number in cell A1, and your answer updates automatically, instantly. Think about that science project again.
If you realize one of your measurements was wrong, you don't have to redo all your math. You just fix that one number, and bam, Excel fixes the total for you. You build it once, and it works forever. It's totally dynamic.
And that pro-level stuff? Functions. You should really think of these as pre-packaged power tools. Instead of typing out equals A1 plus A2 plus A3 plus A4 and on, you just use the sum function to add up a whole range of cells at once. Need the average of your test scores? There's an average function. Want to find the highest score or the lowest score in your league? That's what max and min are for. These will save you a ridiculous amount of time.
Okay, we've got the basics down. Now it's time to stock our toolkit with some awesome shortcuts. These are the pro tips and tricks that'll make you work so much faster and, let's be honest, make you feel like a total Excel wizard.
First up is the auto sum button. You'll see it on the toolbar. It looks like a big sideways M. It's actually the Greek letter sigma. This thing is a one-click wonder. You just click an empty cell at the bottom of a column of numbers, hit this button, and bam, Excel instantly guesses what you want to add up and writes the entire sum formula for you. It's amazing.
This next one feels like pure magic. You see that tiny little square in the bottom right corner of the cell you have selected? That's called the auto fill handle. If you have a formula that you want to apply to a whole bunch of rows, you just click that little handle and drag it down. Excel instantly and smartly copies that formula all the way. It's an unbelievable time saver.
So what's the big takeaway here? Why does any of this matter? Well, learning these basics is going to save you a ton of time on your homework. It's going to help you organize any project you can think of, whether it's for a science fair or just making a personal budget. It cuts down on silly mistakes, and honestly, it's a real-world skill that you'll be happy you have for school and way beyond.